as we all know, elections matter. And when folks vote, they order what they want, and in this case, they got what they asked for.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank and our NATO allies.
It is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't know.
We must together work together to see where we are headed, where we are going, and our vision for where we should be, but also see it as a moment, yes, to together address the challenges.
We have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been, and then to make the possible actually happen. What is at stake at this very moment? What is at stake this very moment are some of the guiding principles around the NATO alliance as it relates to what we need to do domestically as well as what we need to do in terms of this issue generally. We have, as the president said, reevaluated what we're doing.
Based on what we've just been able to see, and because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But just limited to what we have seen.
All right. Welcome once again to the Beatzilla PDX official show. I'm your host, Beatzilla PDX officially, and this is the midweek report news break. And with that being said, this is a tape delayed broadcast, so we are not technically live right now. So if you guys are in the chat and tuning in right now, as you are coming in, hit that like button, share this out on your social media if you would. Please subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, hit the word all. That way you'll be notified anytime this channel goes live or a video is uploaded. And also, if you would like to become a member, you can hit that join button and you can be a member of this channel and support and be parts in that way. So with that being said, though, I would like to say, because there was my last broadcast, which was Friday, there were some people that had donated by Cash App, and I didn't see it until after the broadcast. So I would like to give those individuals a little bit of recognition right away. So with that being said, Devonta and Antithesis, and I think that would be Kenneth Pressure. And I think I already had, I think I did catch Cyberdyne. So salute to you for your donations on Cash App. I much greatly appreciate it. Peace, power, blessings, and protection be up on you and yours. Thank you guys for supporting this channel. I appreciate it. Now, with that being said, like I said, this is the midweek report. And we are talking about the power of the grassroots. This is part 2. I figured since I hadn't got a chance to do a shorter piece, which I will get to, because again, what's going on with the grassroots? They are understanding out here that this is an important sector of populace, and with how now understanding the grassroots is probably more interwoven within our particular society and community than even your divine nine. And I think it's starting to reflect itself in a lot of, and manifest itself in a lot of places. And, it ain't hard to tell. It is the people whose voice is being heard, amplified, and, feared at this moment all around the world. So there's that. You know what I'm saying? So with that, let's look at some of the things that are happening now. Essence did a story on Kamala Harris. Time also did a cover story on her. And these are stories that she, at this point, which I believe would be day 24, has yet to speak to the press, yet to display her position, how some of her views and statements before, especially concerning reparations, have changed. That's one thing that the grassroots would want to know. And like when you hear when we did the Ricky Smiley breakdown, the meltdown breakdown video, which I should have retitled it that. One of the things that the guy that works at the show said, he basically tried to downplay talking about reparations, which was very interesting. Because if you remember when Steve Harvey was interviewing Kamala Harris, he also was downplaying what she gonna do for black folks. Had somebody in my comments on the previous installment of the Power of the Grassroots, and this person basically was coming with the same Steve Harvey line, as if you can't just do something for black folks. I've heard people on, like I said, the Comedy Hype channel. I've heard some cats saying that that you can't go asking for something for black folks. And I will absolutely reject that notion, because we should have enough honor of, number one, our ancestors in this land, to make sure that our living ancestors, like, say, the Tulsa victims who are still living, get their justice. And they're still being denied reparations as living people who were harmed from an atrocity that this government perpetuated and allowed to happen, and in some cases they say aided. So if they aided in such an atrocity against foundational Black American freedmen, I will say anybody that's not wanting or willing to talk about that in this day and age is an absolute outright coward, and really need to be taken from among us, because these type of individuals, they're problems. You know what I'm saying? We have too many of these types out here. You know, they're on a different wavelength. But, you know, I just want to play some things that, let's see where we at here. Because I wanna kind of go blast from the past. We started a certain way, and then we have to look at the current events that are happening right now. So I believe I want to go. Okay, let me do this. Bear with me 1 second. Now, for some of you who have actually been with me for a little while, y'all will understand or know that how we kind of do things here, and we like to give some flashbacks of our scholars, and this particular flashback, these next few, because I kind of want to set up what we're talking about, but give you some kind of handle on our position over here, because a lot of people talk out of the side of their neck, both sides of their face at the same time, and then they present it to us as if we're ignorant or uneducated, and we're just making memes or jokes, or we don't, but they don't seem to put the point in that we take this very serious to have been and be what we are right now, the Black Grassroots, voices of new Black media. They have to say foundational Black Americans. They have to now start talking about young Black voters. That's us. That is us. And they hear what's going on, so much so that you have Donald Trump in a Twitter space. I've been saying this for the longest, that they are paying attention to what's going on in these Twitter spaces, and everybody wanted to tell you it wasn't happening that way. And just that quick it is. So let's just take a look back and see, because we have to start understanding how to start looking at some of our own folks that's going to start acting real strange here. So just to give you some grounding, let's begin here.
White boys and little white girls are going to be holding hands, and people are going to be measured by the content of their character. You got another thought coming. The struggles between races and groups, the struggles between classes and groups has been here since the very beginning, and they will continue to be here. The only people foolish enough to believe that such an age is going to come are Black folk. And this is one of the reasons why today they're on the bottom of the class and economic and political ladders, because they actually believe somehow a miracle is going to occur where folk are going to look at them and not see the color of their skin. If you think that there's going to occur, you got another thought coming. If you're keeping up with the news today.
Now, with what he just said, you have people right now telling you that you can't even mention color, but understand the psyche of that generation. They wanted to lose their own identity with color as well. Why do you think that class and that group is so easy to crown and dub Kamala Harris as Black? There's a reason for that. And you are hearing out of some of the scholars, he was, an older gentleman at that point. So when you hear things like that, take into account what we're saying isn't new. What we're saying has already been revealed in times before. We just need to make sure we know, take these lessons and learn from them, learn how to spot these people, these reprobates from among us, because these folks are truly against Black empowerment. And they act like Black empowerment is a negative thing. Black empowerment is not a negative thing. Black empowerment breeds self-reliance. Self-reliance then breeds a cultural confidence when you wouldn't see a bunch of people running around here worshiping sexy reds and drill rap. So we have to understand. And so if you're saying where things are right now, this is a great trajectory to see where the futures of the Black community is headed. This is horrible. Not to mention you have your government single-handedly backdooring you with help from all of these other entities, some of these religious organizations and the Amnesties Internationals and stuff like that that are helping folks come here undocumented, unvetted, unchecked. And now Kamala Harris wants to give them blanket amnesty. She's talked about doing away with ICE. And in day 2024 of her being the presidential nominee for the Democrats, she has not answered any questions from the press about what her positions are. We cannot, in good conscience or good faith, say that that is worth voting for. That person's job right now is to campaign. And so one of the things about campaigning is being in front of the camera, not being in front of a controlled crowd that are just all I would assume that she has Democrats sold up. Isn't it the people that she's trying to get? All the people that are going to be flooding her rallies were already Democratic supporters. That's not a new trend or train. There's nobody, you haven't seen the videos where people are saying, I'm changing my mind from this stance based on this issue, that issue, or the other issue. All you were hearing is just the same loud vibrato, even louder from the same crowd. It's not a new crowd. And so there, like I said, the Democratic appeal to Black men especially, but Black America who are skeptical of Kamala Harris and her ilk, the response from those people is hostility. And so their pitch to get Black folks to the polls to vote for Kamala Harris is to be overtly hostile and use shaming tactics and insults to try to get a vote out of them. And we're just not that crowd. We're not that age group. That group is dying off. And economics is the conversation versus everything that she wants to champion. And so there's some things, like I said, we're going to take a look at this woman because since she won't come out and speak to y'all, well, let's just go back and look and see what she has already said. And then I guess, maybe you can determine what you think about her from what has already, because they tell you about a record and this and that. Let's just go back and look at her. Simple as that. But before we do, again, let me remind you about the Ricky Smileys and all of these other talented 10th Divine Nine that are coming together to boost this. Understand, they aren't the first. This isn't the first time that we've seen people do this. But you should know, because they have a Black adjacent individual, a Black passing person for the moment, to push. They are trying to push benign neglect through melanin, just like they did with the crime bill of her right now boss, about to be former boss, Joe Biden. So let's go back once again and reflect on the words of Dr. Amos Wilson.
And I'm saying that because there's some of us who think because we're receiving certain rewards from this system, that these rewards will continue forever. But you have to recognize rewards are a mean of control as much as punishment. We talk about it in psychology as what? Positive reinforcement. Yeah. Bribing. Yeah. So you give positive reinforcement, good salaries and what have you, good house and so forth, and all of a sudden Those people who were gate rebels in the 1960s become neoconservatives in the 1980s and said, you know, they got the good life, they bought the idea, they think that this is going to go on forever. Have not studied the manipulation through reward.
And he is saying a lot right there. He is saying a lot right there. So, and so with that being said, I want to harp on the last part about the reward. See, these people come over here and they are coming to get their reward. A lot of these folks coming here from the Caribbean and all of these other, they represent other places to come here, establish themselves, to establish their situation for their families. They're not coming here to blend with black folks. So even still, the whole issue with Kamala's black, we have a whole delineation movement. We are not finna give up our delineation to sit up here and say Kamala Harris is a black American. No, the hell she's not. And not only that, though, she has lied and said that she was an African American. She is not. She's Jamaican Indian. And if anything you want to call that black, we'll call it black. It doesn't make her a black American. It literally says Jamaican. So Jamaican being Jamaican. My grandmother wouldn't be looking at her and saying, ooh, I'm glad. As a matter of fact, my grandmother would say, don't trust her. Don't trust her, and her husband can't come in my house. That's what my grandmother would say. So I don't know about all these grandmothers. Oh, this is the hope, but we'll get to that because Essence wrote a piece. We got to get to this Essence part. But also I want to talk about that middle story right here too with this attempted hijack because, again, when black folks are questioning Kamala's blackness and, because understand she has no cultural connection to American black culture other than her college years. But, if you even want to say, okay, she got the black DNA, all right, which is still Jamaican. Okay, she's multiracial. So now here you have a story over here where these people are talking about they're feeling attacked. Now, here's a conversation that's going on with Donald Trump to talk to Black America, a question talking to and for a Black America, and then a Black audience, Black journalists. Somehow these folks found their way to insert themselves into a conversation that had nothing to do with them, but we'll get to that as well. But first off, let's just take in another good piece from one of our elder icons. And like I said, for Dr. Amos Wilson, rest in peace. And also for our other dear beloved iconic brother, Dr. John Heinrich Clark. Rest in peace also, good brother. And here is one of the reflection moments on our dear brother.
Good evening, Dr. Clark. I really would like you to tell me what's the best way to handle an African American that gets in the way of the liberation of African Americans. I believe in this unity, and I'd love to love all of them, embrace them. Please tell me how to do it strategically.
Put space between you. Don't try to reform him. Give him the information. Hope that he will use it. If he don't use it, then don't waste time letting him obstruct the movement. People who don't believe in themselves can't believe in you and can't help you. It's heartbreaking to know that there are some of us we have to write off so the rest of us can survive.
I hope you heard that last part because this is a hard truth. Because family, we got people coming up here with these type of stories.
I'm a son of an immigrant mother who came to the United States when she was 12 years old from Trinidad. My mother is one of the hardest working people I know, and she's persevered through a lot. She earned her citizenship a couple of years ago. And this will be her first election voting for President of the United States. She happens to be a constituent. I have to make sure she votes for me too.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Isn't this dude the NAACP? I mean, literally, NAACP president. No, that's Derek Johnson. What's that? No, he's not. But yeah, I can't remember what organization he is. But I believe he's also what's a horse? But he's part of the Congressional Black Caucus, isn't he? And you came here as your mother came, so you're an anchor baby. So who is this appealing to? None of those stories have anything to do with us as far as Black Americans. Now, I will say that there are some stories out there that you're seeing in the news that do have to do or deal with foundational Black Americans, like this one right here out of Philly.
How hard has inflation hit you?
It hit me hard. It's hitting me hard.
What do you blame for it?
I blame the federal government at this point. If a working class mom who works as a paralegal cannot buy a $2 bell pepper because it's now $5, imagine a mother living on food stamps. Imagine a mother who's making minimum wage trying to feed children. They're killing us without killing us. If you understand that. They're killing us without telling us they're killing us. They're hurting people in ways that they can't help themselves. It's either feed my child or how about feed my children and I don't eat, but I have to go work.
Now, that's deep. That is deep. And meanwhile, what we get is overt pander sessions. And we get lies. Like right now, we're getting talked to as if we are total fools. Total fools. We don't know nothing. We haven't understood. We saw this woman as Black. Something is wrong with us. We don't understand. And she's never identified as anything other than Black.
Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
Huh. Yeah, funny how that happens, huh? Man, I mean, why would anybody ever think that she identified as anything else? Oh man, and because she identifies as Black, that makes her Black, and we don't. Well, we absolutely do have the right to question her Blackness for people who are out there, but people feel that we should not question her Blackness because they want to make her Black. Well, here's her attempt. Those of you who remember or may not, here's her attempt at showing you how she grew up Black.
Growing up, Kwanzaa was always a special time. We came together with generations of friends and family and neighbors. There were never enough chairs, so my sister and I and the other children would often sit on the floor, and together we lit the candles of the Kinara, and then the elders would talk about how Kwanzaa is a time to celebrate culture, community, and family. And they, of course, taught us about the 7 principles. My favorite principle was always the second, Kujichagulia, self-determination, the power to design your own life and determine your own future. And it is a deeply American principle, one that guides me every day as Vice President.
To everyone celebrating, we hope your week is filled with love and light. From our family to yours, happy Kwanzaa.
Oh, absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. Oh, man. Oh, man. And, okay. People would be like, well, okay, maybe she got the whole Kwanzaa thing a little wrong. Well, no, that's a flat out lie when you start getting into it. Because what she's saying is, when she was a kid, when she was a young kid, she remembers that her community was coming together. I guess this must have been in Canada. So they were coming together for Kwanzaa in Canada. I would love to hear the explanation on that. With her Indian aunts, and they went over the principles of Kwanzaa with her Indian mother and aunt in Canada. Oh, okay. See, here's the thing. When y'all be, oh man, you guys are just hating. Yo, why do you want us to believe things that are so overtly not true? Now, speaking of something that is true, here is something that, understanding, this is from May 23. And because, again, for those of us, I'm from Portland, Oregon, so there's something that I already was aware that was brewing. Because, again, this was the kind of the test state for the test run on how to get the person you want into office without getting them elected. And so here's the way of doing it. But it still has to go through an election because they're not just handing the gig over with Joe Biden stepping down as president. He didn't do that. He did set his campaign off, to close that down, but he didn't give up his job. Now, with that being said, here's Vice President Kamala Harris, because when people say we can't talk about black issues, today's our administration rollout. Today our administration rolled out the first ever United States national strategy to counter anti-Semitism, which includes over 100 new actions to combat rising anti-Semitism. President of the United States and I are committed to fighting hatred in every form, except for anti-black violence, which is the leading statistic, even with their own FBI statistics. I mean, are you kidding me? This is what we get. And for some people, you'll tell yourself that this is cool. Oh, man, we just got to understand, man. No, I don't. Let me show y'all something, man. This is what I understand. Look at this. This is on the FBI's website. I don't know what y'all talking about. Anti-black or African-American attacks were the most common form of racist hate crime in the United States in 2022, with 3,421 cases. The next most common form of race-biased hate crime were anti-white hate crimes with 966 incidents. And those don't say who by who. And in this particular instance, but you can go in there and see for yourself. So to say what's an epidemic or rising, and when you start looking at those pie graphs that the actual FBI has, I don't even understand why they're talking about all these other groups, especially with the LGBTQ. You talk about LGBTQ, boy, their attacks are damn near next to none. But to let them tell it, oh my goodness, man, it's horrible. No, not quite. Let me see. I got me another one, all right, don't I? Let me see something here. Where is that at? Okay, maybe I gotta go back a little bit. Bear with me. Well, maybe I don't have it in here. Oh well. But you understand how she has went out of her way before to basically cover every other group. So here's the other one. Here is the other one. So like she speaks on issues for specific groups. I'm not finna sit up here as a black person and say she had like you're gonna force her being black down black folks' throats, and if that's important for her to become a presidential, get a presidential win, then yeah, it's important enough to say what you're gonna do for black folks, because that means black people again would be putting a Democrat in the office, and then you're gonna watch them do all of this and spend all of this money elsewhere. I don't think so. I don't think so. We have a conversation about reparations right here. You want to be a black president? You be a black president. But don't come around using black folks. We are not no mules. We are mules no longer, and that boule talented 10th nonsense does not speak for black America. They speak for themselves and their own society, which has turned on black America long ago. So a lot of these people with these boule ties, these talented divine niners, some of these folks really, really absolutely hate black people. And y'all gonna have to come to terms with that. And what more to imitate black folks, getting over on black folks with a scholarship, or whoever knows how she got into Howard. I don't know. Did she use one of them black folk scholarships? Did she pull what's Mindy Caitlin's brother? Did she do that? Who knows? Well, she's doing it now. So he did it to try to get into college. She's doing it to get a career. So let's see what her said, Vice President Kamala Harris. Today, we mark 1 year since the horrific shooting at Club Q, an LGBTQ plus nightclub. Doug and I joined the Colorado Springs community and our nation in honoring those who lost their lives. Everyone should have the freedom to be who they are, love who they love, and live free from gun violence. Now, you say, well, you know, she's the vice president. Of course, that's what she'll do. I mean, they're gun victims. Okay. I'll let that one ride. When has she spoke up on the other gun victims, though? There's been more than the gay nightclub. It's definitely been more than the gay nightclub. So let's get that clear. And you got black folks who can't pay no bills. It's all bad. But at the same time, man, we gotta do something about these treacherous Negroes around us. Like this guy here.
I know who I am. Mm-hmm. I was raised to have pride. I mean, I could go on and on about who I am, right? But and who I was born as, not just who I became. It wasn't like some process of enlightenment. This has not been a process of discovery for me. In fact, I think the frustration is that other people want me to take them through their process of discovery. Exactly. About trying to understand it. Right. And it's a challenge. I mean, but this is look, all of us who have become the first, part of the challenge is that people have their boxes about who people are. It's in their mind. They have this set of boxes, and they're trying to figure out which one do you fit into, right? But the number of boxes they have is limited to whatever they've seen before, usually, right? And we're asking them to see something that they've not seen before, and then figure out where to put that. I might give you an example, because I have thought about this. If I use this phrase, just close your eyes for a moment and then think about what you've seen. The boy next door. for most of America, what does that look like?
What? What? So, if y'all will remember, they showed Kamala and Doug quite some time after the Tops incident, laying flowers. They laid some flowers at the memorial. I guess that was good enough. You just go ahead and put down some flowers, her and Doug, and they had it looking like they were concerned about black folks. So we're gonna come over here and we're gonna put these good flowers by this how they have the makeshift memorials at how they had it outside of the store. Let me see here. Now, I wanted to see if I could find anything with her actually talking about, and I'm on X right now. I'm real time. I wanted to just see, had she spoke about the Buffalo shooting. Now, like I said, she went and laid flowers. She did do that. She laid the flowers at the site of the tragedy. But interestingly enough, there is not a there's not a post, no heartfelt nothing. However, I do see something from 2 years prior, and this is 2019, by the way. She wasn't even president, and by March 2019, don't even believe that she was yet the vice president nominee. But nonetheless, if you guys want to go back and just see who Kamala Harris is, well, this is her from 2019. This post reads, absolutely heartbroken in the past week. We have lost 2 Parkland survivors and the father of one Sandy Hook victims. One of the Sandy Hook victims. Gun violence affects so many lives, and we must do better to help each other heal after such tragedies. In the meantime, this is what the victims at the Top store got. They got photo ops. Hey, see what we did? We went ahead and came on over here and put flowers on these dead black people's graves, or on their memorial here. But nope. Now, let me read something now from February 14th. This is Valentine's Day of this year, and this is on X. As news broke of nearly 24 people being shot following the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade, I was brought back to Valentine's Day 2018 when we learned of the mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. I join all those across America who are saying the same thing we said 6 years ago. Enough is enough. This senseless violence must stop. We mourn the lives lost, grieve for the injured, and are thinking of the families whose lives are forever changed by the trauma of gun violence. We continue to call on Congress and state legislators to have the courage to act by passing common sense gun safety legislation. We can change this, and we will. No mention of so I'm just going by like, okay, maybe she said something at some point, but as I'm scrolling, let's see. Nah, this is 19. So this back in 2019. I'm sickened once again to wake up of news of a mass shooting. My heart goes out to the community of Fresno, the first responders on the scene, and the victims' families. We can't go on with the status quo. You should be able to feel safe in your own backyard. And here's February 15, 2019. My heart is broken for the victims and their loved ones in Aurora. I'm grateful for the first responders who put their lives at risk to keep people safe. We've lost too many lives and seen too many communities shattered by gun violence. We can't let this happen. And I just want to let you know that, okay, no mention, no heartfelt message for Buffalo, and no mention of Jacksonville. Y'all understanding me? And then there was a shooting in San Francisco. She said something about that. She talked more about Sandy Hook and more about Parkland. And in May, 2 years ago, 10 people were killed at neighborhood. So this is the one that she has about Tops. This is her. Okay, so this one reads, 2 years ago, 10 people were killed at a neighborhood grocery store during an act of hate that was carried out with a weapon of war. Doug and I joined the Buffalo community in honoring their memory and standing with the survivors. In the days following this horrific mass shooting, I visited with families while urging all of us to stand up for what is right. President Biden and I are clear. Hate has no place in our nation. As we mourn the lives lost, we recommit to building a future where every person can live free from hate, gun violence, and fear. That's funny because every person, they only came up with plans for other people. There was no plan for us. And that is why we say over here, we vote no to benign neglect. You can't come over here with that. And when you sit over here, these are her words. If she has something of substance to say 2 and 4 and about black folks, nothing was stopping her. There's no mention of Jacksonville whatsoever. I mean, let me go throw flowers on here. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. That helps us a lot now. It absolutely does not. Absolutely does not. But let's also just, let's take a stroll down Clip Alley here. Because like I said, I just want to kind of see who we're talking about. And then I'm going to read this article from
Some of the best work that has happened in the ongoing movements for justice, for freedom, for liberty, led by the Urban League, have been fueled by what we all know we do so well when we do it, which is coalition building. So let's think about it. I asked my team to do a Venn diagram of where these attacks are happening. So voting rights, women's reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, and of course
anti-black violence.
But the other point is this. Let's bring together the folks that have been fighting for voting rights with the folks same-sex marriage, fighting for reproductive rights. Let's bring folks together, seeing how much we have in common to fuel this movement, because right now
nothing.
There is a full-on attack on freedom and liberty.
Yeah, and you and Joe Biden were right there at the forefront of trying to take American citizens and jobs away from American citizens while allowing all these legals to come in here unvetted, but taking jobs away from black Americans, those black jobs. So that's a bad deal for black America right there. See, these are the things that maybe she could come out and address, because black folks are telling you we ain't rocking with her, and we can tell you all the reasons why we're not. We're not just saying, oh, well, let's look it up on her record, man. Check her record. You can read. Don't believe everything you read, but read and Google. I think you can Google a record. I can do you one better. Let's hear from her herself.
I Hey.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Welcome. Here I've got Thurgood, because I always have Thurgood over my right shoulder.
Wow.
And this artist, Eddie Fontenot, is a Howard University. He attended Howard University. So,
The artist that did the play.
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't that wonderful?
And Thurgood went to Howard.
Of course he
And
did.
you went to Howard.
Indeed I did. And of course Thurgood was one of my, I never met him, but he was one of my inspirations to become a lawyer.
Wee. Lord. Okay. Okay. He was one of her inspirations, huh? Okay. So let me see. There's some other pieces I need to hit. Let me see something here. Because I want to make sure I get this other little piece in here for y'all. So bear with me. Okay. All right. Okay. So here we go on this first little piece.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population,
Just in case you didn't catch that, let me play it for you one more time.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, and reduce population. And what she's always pushing on us? Freedoms. But when it came down to having freedom, she was all for taking your freedoms away, telling you to mandatory jab up. And for military, you had to be jabbed up. You're a nurse or a doctor, you got to go get it too. If you want to travel, you got to get it. And then they were encouraging, I read the template that they offered, they were strongly encouraging private companies to force that as well. I guess all those folks in Texas, because they didn't force that down there. All them places where they didn't force it. It's like you're not hearing about big breakouts either right now. Now, are you? Just something to think of. Now, with that being said, let's just go and listen to some more of this individual. But let's just go back what she's saying. Thin out them numbers. Boy, that is eugenics to the core.
While we try to ban assault weapons, they try to ban books. We want to keep guns out of schools. They want to keep books out of schools. And it does not stop there. In Florida, they intend to tell our children that enslaved people benefited from slavery, and then proposed a debate on this point. Well, I said when I went down to Florida, there is no round table, no lecture, no invitation we will accept to debate an undeniable fact. There were no redeeming qualities to slavery.
So, Kamala Harris, what's your take on reparations and cash payments to foundational Black American freedmen?
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
Yeah. And somebody out there is like, hey, well, man, even still, I mean, that might have been taken out of context.
No.
Now, those of you who might have heard Ricky Smiley crying and whining like a little biatch, when he was talking, one of the things that he was saying was that, I can't think about
you know, if this woman gets in the office, man, you know, Delta Sigma Theta Phi Alpha Delta, they gonna sit up here and she gonna swear in an AKA and so man, man, just the thought of that brings a tear to my eye, and I don't know what's wrong with black people. I mean, I just can't stand black people, man. He told the truth then, didn't he? Because you feel comfortable enough to come out there on national TV and tell the world how much you can't stand your own people. Man, can't even figure out if you want the bucket of chicken, man. There's always somebody that want a hot dog. What you talking about, Ricky? Bucket of chicken. You want some watermelon with that too? Good grief, Ricky Smiley. Turn it off, bro. Please. But anyway, with that being said, let's not forget, it's not just Ketanji Brown Jackson who snuck in the door. And this particular relationship, you know, for those of y'all who really thoroughly believe Doug Emhoff and Kamala Harris are like a really in love kind of couple. Hey, man, you know, you see the Cash App at the bottom? If you invest, good vibes will come your way, and I will send them to you. And, you know, because of the good vibes and good energy, what you should see is a change in your everyday understanding of good vibes. So when that happens, then you will be able to come back and tell a friend, I need to make sure I hit this brother's Cash App. Because you know what? He is so on it. I am feeling so good with vibes that I am just vibing to my most vibiest vibe. While the rest of us who do actually have common sense and are looking at the political scope with a real conscious effort, we are remembering that not only did Ketanji Brown Jackson kind of get placed in there, but there was also a vacant job by one of these other old Democrats that refused to leave that seat and died in it. And it was filled by none other than Kamala Harris's girl. I mean, LaFonce, whatever her name is, Butler. Here she goes.
As you know, legal representation is vital for children attempting to navigate our complicated immigration system. We've heard reports of children as young as 2 years old, being asked to represent themselves in our immigration courts because they are not provided with counsel by the government. Some of my colleagues may not believe that government should provide counsel to all immigrant children, even those who are barely old enough to speak. Can you talk about the impact that it makes on migrant children to have the types of legal services and supports available in our immigration system?
Hoo-wee. Now, what y'all see right there? Now, that's her homegirl that she made sure she got work for, right? So this is, and that's the mission and time that she on. She pro illegal immigration, and they need services. And she in the state of California, sitting right there to undermine reparations. But look at what she's trying to do for that. Again, I'm just wondering how do we make excuses for this? How on earth do we make excuses for this? This is crazy, and it just shouldn't be, man. But going to this interview, which is wait, what am I saying? It's an article. It's not an interview. She didn't interview with anybody. This is just a I'm in love with Kamala Harris piece from Essence. And this woman who's with her, I guess, So let me just read chief to chief. Undeterred, unprecedented, unwavering. All right. Essence Ventures president and CEO Carolyn Wanga explores Black women as CEOs of home, culture, and community, and focuses on helping every Black woman recognize the chief that exists within her. By Essence, this is by Essence's Essence staff, updated August 9th. Let's see. This chief to chief interview with Vice President Kamala Harris was conducted at the 2024 Essence Festival of Culture in New Orleans in early July, 122 days ahead of the presidential election. Subsequent events have made it all the more crucial to hear from the vice president, who at that time was the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. Not back in July 22nd. And at that essence, no, she wasn't the nominee. Did we skip over some time? That would be over a month, not 24 days. Okay. Moving on. Carolyn Wanga. Who is Kamala Harris? Vice President Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States of America. And I am a wife. Okay, so that was her asking a question. And I am a wife. We have children. I am a godmommy. I am an auntie. I am a best friend. I am a good cook. I am a fighter for the people. I care about the people. Now let's go back to that part. We have children. No, ma'am. That's not true. Your husband and his ex-wife have children. You are a stepmommy. So you do have children by way of marriage. That clarification should probably be there because people could then confuse you with having common sense of a mother. And they would take your words at face value that you understand parenting, which you clearly don't, because that man's children were absolutely grown. So you are stepmother to adult children. Anyway, moving right along, this says, and this is from the editor asking the vice president, will you share a little bit more about why you said that twice? What does that mean to you? Oh boy, here she goes. I am the child of parents who met when they were active in the civil rights movement, marching and fighting for justice. I grew up in a community where an extended family of people told all of us as children that we are young, gifted, and Black. And you know, in doing some research about that civil rights work that they say they was doing, yeah, I guess you could say that because they were using the civil rights movement to advocate for immigrants. So for those of you who are unaware about what civil rights that you could do it, like he said, what you can do is you can probably look it up. Well, you can. You actually can. And then you can find out that they were working to get immigrants more rights and get more immigrants over here. So they tell you it's civil rights because civil rights was the vehicle by way of getting more immigration, but they were pro-immigration. Don't get it twisted. They were not about Black folks, but our extended family, because they were talking to the actual Black children around you, Kamala. But whatever. And again, and let's be clear, back at that time, there were a lot of Black folks that used to give that Black pass to Indians, and until they really got some understanding and learned better. So yeah, there was a large period in time that there were people who duped and passed themselves off while still writing Caucasian on all their paperwork. You're talking about putting Caucasian on Kamala Harris's birth certificate. So her mother obviously wasn't so down with Black America that she didn't put, there's no sign of Black on Kamala Harris's birth certificate. Just Jamaican. But for all intents and purposes, she's Caucasian. Let's see. That's okay. Moving on. It says that young gifted Black, that we could do anything, and that there was no boundary or border to what we could pursue, believe, and that we have a duty. It's not just about you have the charity. It's about duty to give back to your community, to know that you've been pulled up, and each one of us then pull one up. Okay, well, she's done that to her community. Her community got that. So right there, she's showing you by her actions and demonstrating what message was taught to her. She looks at elevating her people, which ain't us. We don't get elevated. We don't even get mentioned. 2 years after the Buffalo incident happened, she makes a tweet. While before she was even the vice presidential candidate going into the 2020 election, she was talking about everybody else. She can talk about them and reflect on them and do a year from now memorial on them. But when it came down to them Black folks gunned down by that racist out there in Buffalo, 2 years later, she has something to say? Wow. I mean, come on, man. And no plan of doing anything. We're just going to talk about hate. But then when it came down to anti-Semitism, we got a plan. See, we have constructed the first ever this or that. And then had Quavo up there at the White House talking about gun violence. What's came about that community? Or that so-called office in the White House, that office of gun control? What do they don't even have a plan on what they do. And so what's happening with that right now? Do you understand there is a lot of questions that Kamala Harris should be answering, because this is part of the administration that she is still actively a part of right now. So she wants us to vote for her while she is standing vice president right now. You don't think she needs to be visible? We got questions, and we're not having anything answered by her. Just a bunch of people telling us how good she is. And these folks, at Essence, put her on the cover, of course, to help out. Might be a little early in the game to be doing that. Because, truth be told, if you're going to do that right now, at this very moment, that kind of is telling me something, to be honest. That and this time thing. Because as I'm reading this you went over so this is a rehashing of an old interview that already has happened. They aired it. It wasn't moving to anyone because it's the same old soup, just reheated. It was nothing new. So it's very interesting that like they had to bring this up. This is the article. So this picture from what's on the front, they've already covered this. And so they're putting this back in your face as this is something new. It's not. This happened a couple months ago. So I won't even really read, because this is really just this is the conversation between them two. Y'all could go back and look at that video. That's on their X page. When with all that empty essence. Matter of fact, ain't that where Busta Rhymes was up there whining and crying because nobody was off up in there to see him? Because he's a buster. Yeah, because he's just a straight up buster. How about that? How's about that? So, well, that whole crappy thing went down. People are still trying to find ways to find their way on the foundational Black American bandwagon. The foundational Black American freedmen, and whatever you may identify yourself. Because I see people that the slow wits that hop in the comments and hey, there's no such thing as a foundational Black American. And I'll ask you any simple question. Okay, what doesn't make them foundational? What doesn't make them Black? And what doesn't make them American? If you pull up the Black's Law Dictionary, that's been wiped out a long time ago by way of case law. So it's irrelevant. Next is foundational. These people absolutely were instrumental in pivotal building this country. Would not exist without the slaves. Now, Washington, D.C., designed by a slave. These things, like contrary to that idiot Pierre, we had all kind of architects coming over here in slavery and enslaved. There was all kind natural ability. That the man didn't give us natural ability, fool. That was already born in us. That is foolish to think that because we came over here, all of a sudden they gave us some insight, and then we've excelled at doing all of these things creatively that no one else has done, but they came and gave us the tools and fuels. Are you kidding? No. And here's even the one thing about it. We can't even suffer in peace. When we're over here having a conversation amongst ourselves, you got these side buster grifters coming along trying to get in where they fit in. Ain't got nothing to do with us. Absolutely nothing to do with us. But nonetheless, look at this little story here. And that's why they had to put a splash of color in the middle. When Trump attacks Harris' racial identity, these Americans say it's personal. Shouldn't be, because he wasn't talking to you. He was talking to Black folks. And this is the conversation we have long had here. I was retweeting stuff and resharing stuff today from 2020. We knew and always said she wasn't Black. So the lie that they're pushing now has already been debunked. It's just a rehashed lie with new voices. But this article that is written by Catherine E. Shoichet. Oh, Lord. Why do we have to do these type of things? Let me see if I get this picture in here for you so I can show you who wrote this article. And I'll just leave this picture on the screen because she knows so much. It always tickles me how people act like they know so much about our culture and they have so much like opinion. Oh man, that let's find a way to integrate somebody else into the conversation because it's gotta get in there and insert ourselves. I mean, like we're important too, and see we got to make sure that our interests are right there in the forefront. So let's make sure we do that. So let me give it to you like this. Okay. Well, that's her. This is the woman who wrote this article. Okay, so all right. So anyway, she goes on to say, Sean Webb didn't expect to be sitting at his keyboard sharing painful childhood memories. But that's what the 35-year-old employment specialist in Denver found himself doing recently. In a series of Facebook posts, Webb wrote about how invisible he once felt when standardized test forms forced him to select by race by checking just one box. He wrote about the first harsh moment and when he realized others saw him differently than he saw himself, describing how a classmate once berated him with questions insisting he was Chinese or Japanese. He isn't. And he wrote about the time when he was in high school civics class one time in high school civics class once spent an entire period debating whether he was a U.S. citizen. He is. Webb's mom is Filipina. His dad grew up in Appalachia. He's inherited those identities. He takes pride in both of them. He's just a white man. And both of them, by the way, identify as Caucasian in America. So he put whatever on it. That was the first time. Get out of here. So right off the rip, you're taking us down lie lane. Because no, he knew good. Man, we from the West Coast out here. There's plenty of Filipinos. We know good and damn well how they identify. Cut it out. So, man, the first thing they do, okay, let me tell you something out here. Also, the first thing that these Filipinos do, if they don't marry another Filipino, they marry a white man, especially the women. So let's be clear. They will marry, and, you know, for the most part, you very rarely will see a Filipino dude and a white woman. Normally, they're going to be what they own out here. So it's very interesting. And like he said, Webb's mom is Filipino. That is not unheard of out here. So, hey, slow your roll, Keanu. I mean, because this whole, I felt invisible. Shut up. You, where were you at? Because, man, miss me. In Denver? Hell no. That's BS. That is total BS. It's like, wait a minute. He grew up in Denver. No, that's total horse crap. I know that's a lie. Anyway, see, so he inherited both identities. He takes pride in both in them. Sometimes his feelings about them may even go unsaid. But Webb says he felt like he had to speak out and share his reflections on Facebook after hearing recent remarks from former President Donald Trump. Trump was taking aim at Vice President Kamala Harris before an audience at the National Association of Black Journalists annual convention, but his words hit Webb hard. So what now? Quote, "Is she Indian or is she black?" Trump said, falsely claiming his political rival for the presidency happened to turn black a few years ago. And the reason why he's saying that is because this is what us, Black America, is actually saying about her. Why would we say such a thing? Well, because it's not a false claim.
Is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that.
Okay, so let's hear what Kamala Harris just identified as again.
Is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody.
And for those who you don't understand, ma'am, over here at CNN or, you know, and all your other people of your writers of your ilk, this, once again, is the reason why Black America has questioned it. And so you know, clearly, Trump's people have been in touch with the Twitter space scene, and they know what the conversation is on the grassroots, and it's
Is
this.
an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
Certainly, you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
Whoops. Yeah, there's that. There is that part. You know. So let's go on to read. But Webb, let's see. Donald Trump. It and this is in quotes. It felt like a direct attack against me and other mixed race people. What? In a conversation with Black folks talking to Black America, you somehow insert yourself to say, I took it as a personal attack. He wasn't talking to you, and you ain't Kamala Harris. And you don't have the issues that she has with Black America right now, which was the conversation at hand to which he was being asked about. So again, the conversation that is being had is because Black Americans have delineated from all other groups. So we don't do the tether thing no more. And so the problem that they're having with Kamala Harris being a anchor baby tether, they are trying to now say, well, you guys are questioning her black. She's not a Black American by any stretch of the imagination. So we don't have to question it, because how does she become Black? Oh, well, she's Black. No, she's Jamaican. You keep saying she's Jamaican. Jamaican is not synonymous with being Black, and it most definitely does not make her a Black American, to which if you go to the White House website, it literally has her listed as a Black American. That is a lie. That's why we don't trust a liar. When you lie in our face and then we hear you off the cuff trying to say the truth, then yeah, we're going to go with what you show us. And when she shows us, she can't be trusted. Now, with that being said, especially his comments that implied that Vice President Harris should have to choose one or the other. He never said that. And here's another thing about being Black in America, and especially for people who have had the one drop rule and all of this. If you came here and your mama got with a white man, that was a luxury. Our ancestors had to get with white men forcibly through assault. So a lot of that, and we are not coming from the same place. So to even insert yourself into this conversation, man, is an insult to our ancestors. I don't know how CNN thought that this was cool. This is an absolute insult to Black Americans and the history of Black Americans in America through chattel slavery. This is, you know what you could have been doing? You could be over here supporting reparations, but instead you over here trying to juice and milk the moment off of a Black situation and try to get some little conversation and energy going towards somebody else. This ain't got nothing to do with you being mixed and Asian, being white and Asian. This has everything to be, we're talking Indian and Black. Where does your white and Asian come in that? White and Filipino, where does that come in at? Because you nothing near Black, so I don't even understand why you entered into that conversation. Let's continue. Let's see. And again, he never said anybody had to choose. Welcome to the racial conversation in America, Mr. Webb. Perhaps you should sit this one out and listen to the folks like the Grassroots that can educate you on racial situations in America, because clearly you don't understand. That's my lived experience. You really must be both sides of me in both sides of me inform my experience. It's an experience that an increasingly large number of people in the United States can relate to. Well, I can't, because I'm not. Let's see. Webb, Harris, and more than 33 million other multiracial Americans are, by some measure, part of the nation's fastest growing demographic group. And for many of them, former President Donald Trump's repeated attacks on Harris' identity feel particularly personal. This is not an attack, and let me once again reiterate, this conversation comes from Black America, and talking about attacks of somebody that having their Blackness in question, let's not play that game, because we all, before the world, saw this woman, Rachel Dolezal, on your screen right now, identifying as Black with two white parents, and then sat up there and proceeded to still tell you that she identified as Black. What we need to get y'all to understand is our issues are ours alone. We will speak for ourselves. We do not need you to come in here trying to hijack the moment, hijack the energy, and insert my feelings were hurt. We don't care, and this wasn't about you. Straight up. We don't care, and it wasn't about you. Maybe you can go find Too Loud and Too Wrong and y'all could go find some place to go get along. But in the meantime, this is this woman's story here. So just letting you know and putting a face on it, I would have to assume that her background is probably somewhere around Mr. Imhoff's, but she has understanding of how this, see, she's so disconnected that she couldn't even understand how to tie this one in without being disrespectful. And neither did they, so they didn't care. This is a F black people moment right here for those of you who don't understand. This is a F black folks moment. And he's not questioning. We are. And we are the ones saying she ain't black. But even if you want to call her black, okay, well, what's she feel about reparations?
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Well, right there, you can see it really doesn't matter now, huh? Now let's move on. There is little doubt that Trump's comments were some part reflective in the country's changing demographic realities, says Martha S. Jones, a professor of history at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Results from the 2020 census revealed the country is more racially and ethnically diverse than ever. The numbers of people in the U.S. who identify as two or more races grew a stunning 276% between 2010 and 2020, according to census figures. Though experts say that the jump may largely be the result of a better measurement of the existing population, which I believe. But when it comes to thinking about the scale of the shift, Jones says she'd estimated, yes, there are more than 33 million people identified as two or more races in the census. But imagine, she says, the vast network of people connected with them, parents, spouses, other family members, even friends. There's a math to do that says it is not 33 million people. This is 100 million people, says Jones, who are working on a memoir about her family's own multiracial history. That all adds up, Jones says, to a country where many are likely to bristle at Trump's framing of the issue because their own lived experiences have shown them a different and more fluid reality. Fluid, huh? That's a very interesting word to use right there. Okay. Of course, multiracial Americans aren't a monolithic group. The umbrella term encompasses a vast array of beliefs, cultural backgrounds, and lived experiences. And some wouldn't describe themselves as multiracial or mixed race, preferring different terminology. Some conservatives make an argument about race and political expediency. For her part, Harris has brushed off Trump's criticism, quote, the same old show, referencing his remarks at the speech in Houston, that someday she slammed Trump's divisiveness and disrespect, and added that the American people deserve better. Harris's father is from Jamaica, her late mother from India. In addition to honoring her South Asian heritage, she attended historically Black university and has embraced and discussed her Black identity for decades, beginning long before she became a political candidate. I will stop right there because let's get this straight. Her father is from Jamaica. She is the child of immigrants. What Black identity can she possibly claim? That is our problem. That is our problem right there. That is the problem, ladies and gentlemen. We can, and this is anchor baby tethering. Anchor baby tethering at its finest. And so with that being said, this is why they want to ignore the power and the voice of the grassroots, because the truth is coming out, the secret is out, and now that Black folks are speaking for themselves, these folks just simply don't know what to do with themselves.
And so we are going to listen to the piece here, and Ann Coulter was on C-SPAN, and she's I played clips of her before because Ann Coulter has mentioned and said black Americans are the only people owed in this country, and she's absolutely correct. And so I want to round off this broadcast with a person who normally would not be considered a ally or an advocate for Black America. However, understanding the condition that the country is in, you might actually have to say something. Now, again, some people also say that the Boondocks kind of predicted this actual position in the first place about Ann Coulter, if you guys remember. But for those of you who don't, you might want to go brush up on your Boondocks history. And one of the episodes with the Reverend Dr. Goodlove. Now, with that being said, and Tardy Zeus Lester, I believe, does a voice on that particular episode as well. So it's a funny episode, but it points some things out. Now, with that being said, let's hear from Ann Coulter, because again, this is the power of the grassroots.
Well, I write about this a little bit in my book, Mugged, about racial demagoguery, and also in Adios America about immigration. And that is the important point he should have made is that the entire purpose of affirmative action, set-asides, civil rights laws that limit constitutional rights to freedom of contract, freedom of association, all of that was to make up for the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow. So unless these benefits are going to, roughly defined, foundational Black Americans, the descendants of American slaves, you've taken away the whole purpose of this. And that is exactly what's happened once we got this huge load of immigrants. Now, a Thai who arrived on Wednesday will get an advantage applying to college, applying to corporations over a heterosexual white male in particular. That's the biggest hate group. But any white American, and all of the civil rights laws have been, and affirmative action and so on, have been twisted into just anti-white hatred and open, egregious discrimination. So to make the point that Kamala isn't a foundational Black American, I'm always pointing out to Black people, hey, have you noticed Indians are getting all the good diversity jobs? What are we?
Now, we definitely disagree on the whole white man discrimination thing. But, because let's be clear. White men can call themselves women and now go invade women's areas and spaces. So, and Black men can't do that. Trust me. Let's let a Black LGBT or a Black trans person try the exact same things that you see these white dudes doing. Let's just see it happen. Let's see how that works out. Yeah, right. Yeah, then we'll see how fast that community comes to that person's rescue. But what she's saying is these tangibles have went to non-foundational Black Americans. They don't have, and they're not entitled to anything, but this is being given to them purposely by this administration. We owe them nothing.
We do to Indians. We didn't enslave them. I mean, most of
Not at
these
all.
immigrants coming in, most are from 90% of legal immigrants are from the third world. And mostly we've just run around saving them from earthquakes and tornadoes and coups and starvation. They owe us. We don't owe them. But to switch from the concept of integration and civil rights for Black Americans to this BS-y diversity, it's nothing but discrimination against white people. And that point should be made not just too, as I think Trump is always thinking, oh, he's going to win the black vote. He's not going to win the black vote. You ought to do things because they're the right thing to do, not because this is an appeal to black people, like releasing criminals. He thinks he's going to get the black vote by being soft on crime. Anyway, not only to point out to Black Americans that their history is being stolen by immigrants, but to remind white Americans that this whole diversity thing is just discrimination against them. You still...
Now, if you think about that, there could probably be some truths found in what she's saying to that, not to the degree that I would really even bother mentioning that, because again, people coming out and talking negative against white men is not depriving them of anything. They still got $1 billion worth of whiteness. So that part of it, okay, people talk about white male patriarchy like a dog. They don't leave from up under it though. So I mean, let's keep that a buck. But with that, we do have to understand that when you see a white woman say, hey, they're trying to rewrite your history or they're trying to erase your history, what does that say to you? That's not coming from, because remember, they talking about these are the people that want to ban books. But who's doing it? Let's hear it again.
White Americans, that this whole diversity thing is just discrimination against them. You still want to vote for the Democrats?
Let's hear.
Not because this is an appeal to black people, like releasing criminals. He thinks he's going to get the black vote by being soft on crime. Anyway, not only to point out to Black Americans that their history is being stolen by immigrants.
Illegals, by the way. Our history, well, and I can't even say illegal, because let's look at hip hop 50. We're coming up on an anniversary of Kamala Harris hosting that event, to which they are actively trying to steal our history. Look at breakdancing in the Olympics right now, actively showing you that they are attempting to steal our history. What on earth business do we have supporting a corrupt regime, a dishonest, harmful vision for a future America that puts us at even a further negative position? You have to be off your rocker to think that makes sense in participating. And then to think that we should buy into that foolishness? Absolutely not. And so with that being said, I will revisit one more last message, and I hope you guys understand this. I hope these words resonate in your spirit. Dr. Clark, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Dr. Clark. I really would like you to tell me what's the best way to handle an African American that gets in the way of the liberation of African Americans. I believe in this unity, and I'd love to love all of them, embrace them. Please tell me how to do it strategically.
Put space between you. Don't try to reform him. Give him the information. Hope that he will use it. If he don't use it, then don't waste time letting him obstruct the movement. People who don't believe in themselves can't believe in you and can't help you. It's heartbreaking to know that there are some of us we have to write off so the rest of us can survive.
Babylon is fallen. Babylon is fallen. Let it fall and let us rise. Can you dig it? Got to learn how to let folks go. Because one thing that we over here understand.
How can black people rise up and overcome?
Get out and vote?
That is incorrect. I'm sorry.
So, looking at how people are even understanding that the energy from the grassroots is maneuvering it's moving the needle to the conversation to literally come to the ground. And they can't stand it because the Democratic playbook is to talk through their shills and celebrities. They spent now more money to get you a Beyonce concert at the DNC. So I guess that's where all that win with this group and win with that group, I guess it's all paid off, because now they're going to get a Beyonce show, because they now could afford to pay Beyonce to open for Kamala Harris. And I guess that will be the coup de grace. Once again, let's get a celebrity who absolutely never, ever has any tweet or anything remotely close to talking anything about politics or the community or anything of the such or black issues. But now let's get Beyonce to represent the Democrats. While trying to steer the energy away from the grassroots. As you see this story in the middle, they tried to insert Asians into the conversations as if they had some kind of play or tie here, which they don't. So I would just have to say, for all of you Democrats who think it's easy, or you think you should just, well, we'll just go ahead and get the black vote and we'll just rely on the black vote. Yeah, I don't think so. No, that's probably just not going to happen, because we know better. And so, yes, we're not just going to fall for the okie doke. And for her to run around with the Congressional Black Caucus and all of these folks, well, let's just remember one good message about all of them.
Got to watch these old niggas.
Because majority of these folks are full of Sambo sauce, and we have to leave them that way. But the others are trying to let these illegals come over here and stay and give them all of these goodies and give them our tangibles. Anybody talking like that to you? First question.
Where's your family from?
Because remember what's happening over here and has been going on for the last 2 years. We've been watching Scarface moving fentanyl across our borders, because they first got here and the Democrats said, oh, we got you in our sanctuary cities. Let's move you all over here where these black folks is so you can get your drugs up here and flood them through the black community by way of not vetting anybody with this illegal invasion that the Democrats, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, allowed. And this is what the border turned into. Ricky Smiley.
Buck dancing, shuffling, scratching, bootlicking, bamboozling, Uncle Tom Negro.
And to all of you who believe that we should just, we just showed you some of her record. We showed you some of her words since she refuses to speak to the public. And now we also showed you that you got Democrats trying to run interference against the grassroots, because now people have to talk about foundational Black Americans, and you're literally also hearing about the grassroots. In mainstream media, now CNN tried to jump out there, jump in front of Black folks, and siphon off the energy from our dialogue to make it about them. Anybody who subscribes to doing that against us, I most definitely. And if you're Black, you get one of these.
Sambo, Sambo, Sambo.
So it's still no tangibles, no vote over here. And it looks like the couch is looking pretty appealing. So, depending on if
what Trump is talking about with actual policies. You never know. But Cornel West is still in the race. Cornel West is still in the race. Jill Stein is still in the race. So if you're confused and we have options, I don't know what to tell you, but we most definitely will not be voting for Kamala Harris. And if you can't understand that, well, I speak for myself. Beatzilla PDX official. The Beatzilla PDX official show. Those of you in the chat. The Grassroots. All of you. And the voices of New Black Media. I think it is safe to say that I speak for all parties involved when we proudly dedicate this song to you.
Get up off of that cocaine and get up off of that crack. Get yourself together and get your mind back.
Hashtag hands off our reparations.
You have no rights here. We're not under the empire.
Yes, indeed. Family, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at BZillaPDX. You can email me at ourrealtruth@gmail.com. And if you feel so inclined to put some money in the bucket, support this channel, you could definitely do so by way of Cash App. That's $BeatZillaPDX. That's Cash App, $BeatZillaPDX. Also, we have PayPal, which is Zilla Muzak. That is ZILLAMUZAK at PayPal. And with that being said, family, once again, thank you for tuning in on this good midweek report. I appreciate each and every one of you. Peace, power, blessings, and protection be up on all of you and yours, except for you haters. With that being said, family, stay black, stay vigilant, stay alive. Black first, black first, black first. Shalom, y'all. Peace.
When you know who Satan is, yes, sir, you don't have to kill him. No. The stone of truth. Yes. See, that's what you throw. Yes, right. Allah says, had we wished to take a pastime from before, surely we would have done it. Nay, we cast truth at falsehood till we knock out its brains. Every one of you that knows the truth, stand up and tell it from the mountaintop. Black people can't take it no more. So wherever you are on the job, in the factory, I don't care where you are. If you know the truth, stand up on the truth and tell Satan, who the hell are you to try and pick my friends? Farrakhan is God's man, and you are from the enemy of God. So to hell with you. Stand up on it like a man.